right, guys, thank you for tuning into Wednesday Night Reviews. I'm your host, Konrad, and I'm here with Geoff, the co-owner and operator of Sketchbook Comics here in Niagara and St. Catharines. Thank you for being here again,
No
Geoff.
problem. I got a new shirt today.
You got a new shirt? Yep. This is day 2 of filming. So actually, yeah, last time what we spoke about yesterday, we covered sort of you getting into comics, sort of always growing up with it, the 66 Batman show.
Multiple places that I worked that
Yes.
had to do with comics.
Across the street, in the Pen, in the Falls, here.
Differences in comics since we opened, and
Yeah, I mean, we covered quite a bit.
yeah, we covered a lot, which is why we ran out of space on the card.
Yeah, which, I mean, it's a good thing.
Sadly, we don't know what we missed, so.
Well, I've got audio for it all, so we can fill
There you
it.
go.
That's all good. When it comes to comics, like, you own your store, I would assume as a comic book store owner, whatever you want in your personal collection, you just order it for yourself. So as a store owner who has access to literally any comic you want, what do you read?
It's kind of all over the place.
Okay.
On one hand, sometimes it's just whatever catches my eye, and then on the other hand, there's stuff that I know, like I read on a regular basis. But it's a weird thing because with being an owner, things that I normally read, Tom King's Batman, for instance, I was completely up to date on that, and then all of a sudden issues were selling faster.
Oh.
So I stopped reading it because I was putting the issues out instead of keeping
they
one
would
for
just
myself.
go.
So it would just sell right away. But so I'm way behind on that now. Although I have been reading City of Bane, I just was like, screw it, I'll read the other stuff when it hits trade. But City of Bane, I just wanted to know what was going on so that I could talk about it with people. Nightwing, for instance, in that case, the story's just been going on too long of the Rick Grayson story. I'm sick of it. It needs to end, and I think it's getting there. But I stopped reading because the story just wasn't doing it for me. Again, I'll likely read it in trade because then it's just one sitting,
Yeah, you
get
can
through
sit
the
there
whole
and go through
story and done. But yeah, like one of the things I find is that shop owners tend to be very nostalgic.
Okay.
It's very much about old stuff for them, like things they read as a kid and things they were into as a kid. So, you know, I spent a lot of time reading Captain America from the 80s because I love that stuff when Ron Lim was the artist on it. And I just reread, I guess a couple of weeks ago, I finished rereading like the giant omnibus that DC put out of everything they'd ever done for Masters of the Universe, the He-Man stuff.
Oh, wow.
I've got it sitting on the shelf. I haven't read it yet, but it's the omnibus that has all of the Blackest Night stuff. So I'll read that at some point as well. But there's a ton of stuff that I read, like a ton of it. The X-Men stuff right now, House and Powers, I'm completely up to date on that. I can't not. It's so good. Even with it selling out, I hang on to a copy that I can read and my business partner can read because we're both into it that much. Event Leviathan at DC.
For DC, yeah.
I read the first issue and thought, this is pretty cool. And then I just kind of sat back on it and was kind of like, whatever, I'll get to it when I get to it.
So it wasn't as urgent?
Yeah, it wasn't. And then issue 4 came out of the 6 issues. And I was like, I kind of want to know who this guy is in the helmet before it gets spoiled for me online.
Oh, yeah.
So I went back and reread it. And we still don't know who it is. But holy crap, that's a good series. Like, I loved it. Great mystery stuff, great detective stuff with Batman and then a whole bunch of other people. Plastic Man kills me in it.
Cool.
Yeah, he's in it. But yeah, so much stuff. Naomi I read as it came out.
Yeah, that one's super popular.
Yeah, that one went over big time. Bendis' Superman I've really enjoyed a lot. I just read the first issue. I've just kind of been reading that piecemeal, kind of here and there. You read an issue.
Yeah.
But with the Legion of Superhero stuff coming, I was reading it specifically to see where they're going with that.
Now,
loved it.
Was Legion something that as a kid or as a younger reader you had read, or was that sort of for you just because he's on it, you want it?
Legion is an interesting one for me. I think it's always been more about, it's a property I've always wanted to like. And I've read it a number of times through the years, and sometimes it was cool. And sometimes it held my attention for a little while, but never for a prolonged period of time. So it's one of those things where I'm like, I really love this concept, but it's just never quite hit the bullseye for me.
Oh, okay. So you check it out for a bit, and then it's kind of like, eh.
Yeah, and sometimes it kind of comes close to the bullseye for, maybe even 10 or 12 issues, and then I just fell off it again because it wasn't holding my attention enough.
Yeah.
I tend to prefer the street level characters like Nightwing and Batman and Robin, and I used to love things like Moon Knight. I'm not a fan of Moon Knight now. I don't like the whole crazy thing that Marvel's done with him. The more powerful stuff I like as well, like the Justice League, but my grounding is with the street level stuff, and so
the closer
Legion
to human.
is so out there and cosmic and that type of thing that it, for whatever reason, that's my assumption as to why it wasn't holding my attention.
Because it's a hero way out there, and not a guy right there.
It's out in space, and they're going from planet to planet and out in the solar system and the universe and all that stuff. And for whatever reason, it just didn't hold my attention the same way.
Interesting. And besides Marvel and DC, because we have talked about so many other companies that are out there, and even Marvel Action and the young sort of targeted audience, is there any of that you just actively read because it's good, or?
Oh, yeah. Nailbiter, I own all of that in hardcover. It's still technically DC because it's Vertigo. My absolute favorite comic book of all time is Preacher. The entire run is just phenomenal. I can't even bring myself to watch the TV show. Really? Because I know I won't be okay with the changes.
Because it won't be perfect.
And I go into these things understanding that stuff's going to change. Arrow things changed. The Marvel Cinematic Universe things have changed. Some things I don't mind, and some things I do. But you go in understanding the changes are there. So I understand there are going to be changes for Preacher. I just don't know if I'm okay with it.
That's good. It's something that you're that passionate about.
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from IDW is phenomenal. I get those in hardcover, and I've got a whole shelf full of those. And then even more than that, I've got, I want to say 19 or 20 volumes of the Transformers from IDW that I absolutely love.
So do you collect more actual comics, or trades or hardcovers? Do you find for you?
For stuff that I'm keeping, most of the time it's hardcovers.
Okay, so you'll wait for the
trades
collection.
when it sorry, there's a dog running around. Trades when it's not available in hardcover. Hardcover is my preferred format for keeping stuff because it goes on a bookshelf. That being said, I do have some stuff that I keep in floppies. Like at Nightwing, I always keep an issue.
That's because you actively read it as it comes out, right?
Yeah, but I actively read all kinds of stuff as it comes out. But that stuff I've kept. Nightwing, I don't know. Dick Grayson is my favorite character, so I've always just held on to it. We were talking about stuff that I was reading.
Yes, what you were actively reading beyond the main stuff.
Right. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like I said, Transformers, I have all of that stuff in hardcover, and we'll see if I keep going with that. I'm not sure with what they're doing with it right now. We'll have to see. I'll give it a shot, but we'll have to see. I'm trying to think of what else I read. It's always... No, you read Man-Eaters. There was one Gunning for Hits I've been reading. I haven't read the whole series yet. It's tough to remember when I can't see the shelves in front of me.
That's fair.
But then on top of that, I actively, like when it comes to older stuff, I actively collect certain things like at home I've got the first appearance of Nightwing and
the actual comics.
Yeah, the actual floppies.
Big issues for you that you find.
Yeah. I can't even think of them all off the top of my head. I've got like the first appearance of Nightwing. I've got the first appearance of Crossbones. It's mostly characters that I just like.
Yeah, just stuff that you're into.
It's not necessarily speculation purposes. It's nice that they're worth something, but it's really more just the characters that I love that I have the first appearances of. And the funny thing is, I was just looking at it today. I have the first appearance of Deathstroke. That was my holy grail for a long time.
Oh, that's cool.
I think I got it about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. But yeah. So I still collect a little bit when it comes to the floppies, but it tends to be key stuff that I just want to have.
Yeah, for your own.
Yeah, and then everything else I tend to do in hardcovers and stuff.
Just to be able to read it and have it not get.
Yeah, I can read it, and then there's a small benefit to hardcovers that a lot of people don't realize exists. When you go to conventions with a hardcover to get it signed by the artist, they tend to draw on them.
Yes.
I've got a hardcover. I had a Green Lantern one that Ethan Van Sciver had drawn in that I've since sold off. But I've got my first Transformers hardcover. It has Megatron drawn in it. I've got an absolute edition of Batman Incorporated.
Oh.
That
Chris Burnham?
First guy, Yannick Paquette? Yeah,
yes.
yeah, that he signed, and he also, when I had him asked him to sign it, he broke out his watercolors and painted a Batman headshot in it. I can't even think of them all now.
A lot of them, obviously.
But there's a number of them that have drawings. I have the first 2 volumes of Chew in hardcover. That's another one that I recommend to people. Is Chew from Image.
Chew, got it. Is it in hardcover or is it now just
it's in every form. It came out in softcover first, I believe. But the series has been done for a few years now. But it's fantastic. It's about a guy who, when he eats things, he sees the history of them. So anything, if he eats it, like except beets. Beets is the only thing he can eat without a reaction.
So he eats a lot of beets, does he?
Yes, he does. And it's also a world where chicken is outlawed because of the bird flu and that type of thing. Phenomenal black comedy action stuff. Like, there's a vampire in it. You know,
that suits
it's
the world.
insane, and I love it. But the first 2 volumes of that I have, and Rob Guillory, the artist, had drew inside those.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you the rest. I just got Stan Sakai to sign a hardcover version of the recent TMNT Usagi Yojimbo crossover, and when he signed that, he drew a headshot of Leo in it. And,
that's amazing.
It's a headshot of a turtle. I say it's Leo.
It's one of them, and if it was colored,
it's my book, so it's Leo.
Yeah.
But it's a cool benefit to hardcovers that most people I don't think realize exists, and that's
true.
It's what I tell people when people are like, "Well, I don't want to spend the extra for a hardcover." I'm like, "That's fine. Do you go to conventions and get books signed?" Well, yeah. Then you want the hardcover.
So I did sort of want to ask, because like you said, you've collected a lot of hardcovers, you have some key issues, and here in the shop, we'll get a shot of this later, up on the top there, you've got really cool variants. I've seen it, I think it was a Sandman #1.
Yep.
So you have like really key big issues, but I've never seen you do anything CGC. So for yourself or for the store, will you ever do CGC?
No.
The main reason for that being you're not worried about it?
Down the road, maybe we'll do something with the store. I'll be honest, the market in this area just isn't CGC oriented. I get the occasional person, but maybe once every few weeks, every 4 or 5 weeks. There's a store in Niagara Falls that tends to do CGC, but honestly, most of that stuff he does online.
Okay.
So yeah, it's never been big for us that way.
All right, so actually, yeah, like we just discussed CGC and stuff. Maybe you'll do it, maybe not.
We may do it in the future. Honestly, for me, I don't like CGC. I get the idea of it. I understand it completely, protecting the books. But the grades have an expiry date, effectively. You know, once it's back in your hands, there's really no guarantee that grade is still that grade. Hell, from the moment that it leaves their hands, it goes through the mail system.
Yeah, it could get
shipping
around
system.
head.
So now, that being said, my understanding is they do a great job of packing things. Like, your book will show up in like a refrigerator box. I know I'm exaggerating, but like filled with foam that's protecting this book, which is great.
Yeah.
But you never know what's going to happen when something's shipping. But my biggest problem with it is they're called comic books, and it turns it into a trading card. Because all you're going to see is the front and the back.
I've never heard that before, but that is exactly what that is.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Like, yeah, it's cool and all, and sure, if I had a Walking Dead #1 that I, instead of selling for $1,500, that I could sell for $8,000, or I mean, I know a guy online bought it for 10, but that was a few years ago, and I think he's regretting that. But selling it for some exorbitant price above, maybe I'd consider it. But also, their whole way of doing things has changed. It used to be it was a flat fee for grading a book.
Yeah.
Now it's a flat fee unless the book is worth a certain amount, is my understanding.
So if you have a signed #1.
Once that book is worth a certain amount, they take a percentage of the value. So my guess is you probably won't see a whole lot of Action Comics #1s graded.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the ones that already are done, they're done. And
yeah, that's a different story. But now, if they're taking a percentage of a book that sells for $4 million.
Yeah.
That's a big percentage.
Yeah.
It's a big number no matter what the percentage is. So it's just not my thing. I get why people are into it, and I have no issues with that. It's just not my thing.
Fair enough. So when it comes to your shop, I've been a regular customer of yours for
years.
Yeah,
Let's go with
long,
years.
long frickin' time.
It's blurry to me, so I don't really remember anymore.
I'm just this guy you're aware of. That's fine. What is your sort of regular schedule? Obviously, Wednesday comics come out and they're brand new, and I've come in here myself and I've seen you have this table behind us totally full of comics, and you're, here's this person's list, and boom, 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 and you're going beyond. Wednesday new comics come out. What goes on?
Well, that's all Tuesdays.
Well, yeah, Tuesday. Yeah, but as per if a customer were to come in, like you do, we're sitting here on the tables where you guys do Magic.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff like that do you do beyond selling? I
mean, obviously, like we've talked about, we do Magic and we do all the board games and we do D&D, and we've done board game nights in the past. They just kind of lost popularity, so we moved on from them. We've got Magic going on here 5 days a week: Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays.
And what times?
Tuesday night we do Modern at 7 p.m. Thursday night we do Commander. It's casual, so it kind of varies. 6:30 is about when people roll in, but I've had people here as early as 3 o'clock, and I've had people not show up until 9 o'clock. So it varies. But again, it's casual. It's not a tournament or anything.
Yeah, it's just coming in and having fun.
Friday night Magic we do Modern and Standard at 7. Saturdays we do, or at least we try. Saturdays we do Commander now again, and again it's casual, so people roll in at any time. Sorry, I was confused there for a minute, because we used to do Standard because they Wizards of the Coast had Standard Showdown on Saturdays, or Saturday Showdown, I guess is what they called it. But then they stopped doing it, so we just run Commander again. People love Commander, so. And then Sundays we draft at 1 o'clock, I believe it is.
And as a guy who I played Magic, 10 years ago in high school, what is drafting?
Drafting is where you when you buy into a draft, you get 3 packs. Then everybody at the table opens a pack at the same time. They take 1 card out and they pass it to the left. And you do that, and you just continuously do that until all the packs in the all the cards from the packs are taken. Then you open the next one, you take 1 card out and you pass it to the right. And then you continue on until they're gone, and then you open the last one, you pass it to the left again, and then you build a 40-card deck out of what you've drafted.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a fun format.
Totally random. You don't know what you're going to get at all, and you can just go.
And you just try and figure out a format, like a strategy, as you go, and as you're drafting, and hope it works.
Yeah, really.
And then Wednesday nights we do D&D, and one group starts at 6:30, and the other 2 start at 7.
And is it like a regular campaign, or is it new, fresh people every?
It was supposed to be anybody could drop in any week, but what we found was nobody was dropping out.
Oh.
So we started with 1 DM, quickly went to 2 within I want to say 2 or 3 weeks.
Wow.
And then within, I want to say 2 months, we added a 3rd DM. They were each playing with 9 players, meaning there were 30 people here playing D&D. And nobody was dropping out. The only time we had people really fade out was if they were literally moving away. Going away to school, new job in London or Toronto, and then they moved out. And at the time, the DMs were like, don't add anybody new because we need the groups to drop in size a bit. 9 is too many.
Yeah, really.
And so that is wrapping up. I want to say there's 2 weeks left of it that they're wrapping it up, and they decided to try a new format. So they're going to have 6 campaigns going with 6 DMs.
Okay.
And every week will be 3 of them, and they alternate weeks.
Oh, okay. So
that way, what they basically told the players was, you can play in 1.
Okay.
And then we want to make sure that we can allow some of these other people that have been hoping to get in to play. And I think we've filled all of them except 1 so far.
Wow.
I think we've got 1 left that has 3 spots in it, and that's it.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. they've been filling. And also, like the alternating week, a DM can play in one of those games if they want.
Yeah, exactly.
But the plan is that as a player, nobody's playing in more than one game to try and open it up to as many as possible. And I think they're staying at 6 players per group.
Okay, and that way if someone new wants to come and walk in off the street and play, they can do that.
Hopefully. We'll see what happens.
Exactly, yeah.
If everybody keeps coming out, then we'll still be turning people away. But
and do you find, like, what is if you could think about, like, the busiest of the events? Is it Magic, is it D&D, or is it all just sort of, at this point, packed?
It's pretty... Magic is huge. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
It's always busy for us with Magic. But I would say Magic and D&D are probably on par because they're, and only because of the limitations of the store. Like if we've got 30 people here playing D&D, there's no room for more. We had other people coming and going, I can DM too. And it's like, yeah, thank you.
But we don't have a table.
But there's literally no space to put you and players. And it's kind of the same with Magic. We probably have a few more Magic players than we do DMs or D&D, but that's because the DMs need some space.
Yeah, they need a bigger table.
Yeah, they're taking up the space of what would probably be 3 Magic players, maybe 4, depending on the person. Depending on how much stuff they have out. But so with Magic, we can fit a few more people, but it's taking up all the space regardless.
Yeah, ultimately your store's
they're the
filled up.
same.
Awesome.
It's full. It's nuts.
And do you do anything like Warhammer 40K?
No.
Okay, so you basically it'll be Magic and D&D for now.
40K. I loved 40K years ago. Joel and I both used to play it, but we just it's an interesting company.
Okay.
It's an expensive company.
Yes. I have a number of friends with armies, and I'm like, how much?
I honestly probably still have all my stuff somewhere. I loved it. Loved painting the miniatures. Loved modifying miniatures and creating my own. But whenever 2 years, 3 years, they're redoing the rules, and you have to spend another $100 on a new set of rules. It was just like, what are you guys doing? To top it off, a single figure could cost you $25, $30. I was like, yeah, I think I'm good.
Especially if you have like 100-piece army.
Yeah, and it just kind of drove us out of the hobby.
For sure, and I mean to try and play it in a room this big, because I've seen tables set up where it's easily 3 or 4 of these, and trying to get however many players to crowd around that in your store here, that would be a little insane.
Exactly. And there's already 2 other stores in the city that do it. Plus there's no offense to these stores, but there's a bigger store, or a better store maybe is a better way of putting that, in Niagara Falls for it. And so why throw our hat into a ring that's probably overcrowded already?
Yeah, you're doing what you've got here is really fantastic. Why try and overdo it?
Yeah, instead of doing something like Warhammer. And the other thing too with Warhammer is they want a certain amount of your store dedicated to their product, and
okay.
I don't wanna.
That's interesting.
I like being able to move stuff around and change things. Like a couple of years ago, we were like, let's do more horror. And so we started bringing in more horror and more of the figures.
You've currently got this.
Yeah, and it's taken over this corner, whereas before horror was maybe, a few pegs.
I
in
remember
the action figure section. Yeah.
Perfect.
But there's a lot. I think honestly, I think horror is underserviced for the horror fans, and when it comes to this type of stuff. So I'd rather do that than 40K, where there's already 3 other stores doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
Great game, fun game to play. Just pricey and
space consuming, time consuming. Yeah.
Very space consuming.
Now, when it comes to someone new walking off the street, whatever they're into, like I myself happen to be into comics, as you know. What do you want sort of new customers coming to know about your store, whether they're into comics or whatever it is?
There's probably a dog here.
Yeah. Hi, Shmore.
She's very friendly, but there's probably a dog here. So if you're afraid, just tell me.
Be warned, yeah.
What are you doing? There she goes. I don't know.
Okay.
Just 'cause you know what? We're friendly. If you've got questions, ask. I will gladly answer anything for anybody. Even if I don't have an answer, I'll tell you. If you want to know if a book is good or bad, ask. I'll tell you the truth. If I think something's garbage, I'll flat out tell you it's garbage.
You've done that for me multiple times.
And yeah, the mentality is, I'll sell it to you, no problem. But if you want to know my opinion, I'll give you my opinion, honestly. You know. If it cost me the sale, it cost me the sale. I'd rather do that than, you know, be that stereotypical car salesman guy that tells you everything's great. Because it's not. Remember the conversation earlier where we talked about, you know, a couple years ago, I was telling people from Marvel, they've got 80 books and I can recommend 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and I think that's something that, for me specifically, has made you interesting, is you know realistically what's really good. And when I've had my pull lists here, one of my favorite parts easily was that you would sit there and go, you know what, I think Konrad might like this because you've read it and you've gone, this is the kind of stuff he likes.
Yeah.
Or you've turned around and gone, you're going to hate this, don't read it. So for someone coming off the street who's never read a comic before, obviously you're going to answer questions. How does the system work? How do you get a pull list, and what does that involve for someone brand new?
Pull list is easy. You just know what books you want to get on a regular basis, and then all I need is an email address and a phone number and a name, and we'll set you up. It takes us all of 5 minutes. The nice thing too is our system is connected directly to Diamond. So when I do my monthly orders, I literally click a button and it takes all of our memberships and puts all of those orders immediately into the order form. So
wow,
I've already spent thousands before I even start filling it out. Yeah, it's fun.
Because you just go click and it's order.
And if I make an error and I try and change a number to a point where it doesn't match or meet those orders, it will tell me that too.
Oh, it'll be like, hey,
it pops up on error going, you've got more people who want this than what you're ordering. So it makes it super easy for me. It makes sure that I can make sure that everybody gets what they want. You come in a week before, I can't guarantee it, but
yeah, actually, yeah. So about that 4 orders and getting the books you're after, what is the time period that if I came in brand new and I was like, I want to read, I don't know, we were talking earlier, Avengers.
Sure.
What would be the earliest issue that you could guarantee I could get from that time period?
It varies. If it's a book that I have a smaller order number for, like we talked about Black Panther.
Yep.
I can usually do the next issue probably 95% of the time.
Okay.
Especially from the big 2. With the big 2, it's probably closer to 99% of the time. Because I can just order an extra copy.
And they'll just
send
it on
and
out.
They'll send it out when it's due out. If it's too close, like if it's within a week or so, you might have to wait until it just shows up after the fact, like a week or 2 later. If it's some of the smaller companies with significantly smaller print runs.
For example, like which company?
Like Image, Dark Horse, Boom, IDW. It just depends on the book. If they've got those ones are big enough, it's usually not a problem. But every once in a while you get a book that will sell out in advance. A good example is, I think his name's pronounced Kieran Gillen. He's a writer. He's written X-Men and stuff for Marvel a number of times. He's done a bunch of stuff through Image, but he's got a new book through Boom, I believe it is, and it's called Once and Future.
Once and Future. Yeah.
That book sold out weeks before it even shipped.
Wow.
So basically, they had their print run. Diamond knew what the print run was. We'll use just an easy number for an example. So if the print run is 10,000 and they had orders for, I don't know, 6,000 books, we'll say, somewhere in between the times that we ordered it and after they printed it, interest went way up.
And
all of a sudden stores started increasing their orders, and it sold out.
Wow.
And so at that point, if I don't have enough, if you come in and say, can I get Once and Future, and I've got 2 copies that are going to make it to the shelf, then it's not a problem.
Because you can have one of the 2.
If I've got, let's say, 10 copies of the book coming, and I've already got 10 people speaking for it, then you're probably out of luck.
Yeah, it would come down to like one of those 10 people saying, you know what, I don't want this.
One of those people deciding they didn't want it. And even then, most people, and this is what I recommend for anybody with any store, if you've asked for a book and it's gotten so far as it's in your file, then buy the book because it was ordered for you. What really hurts comic shops more than anything else is when they get that person who set up a pull list and then didn't show up or stopped showing up or whatever the scenario is. You can see all kinds of memes online for it.
Yeah, I've seen it.
You know, where they've got the stack of books and they're like, here's $1,200 worth of books that we didn't sell, you know, because somebody decided they didn't want them or didn't show up or whatever the situation is, or changed their mind. So if you've asked for it, it's gone so far as to go into your file, then buy it from your shop, you know, and then let them know, I don't want any more going forward. And then they can at least make adjustments, you know, and they're prepared for it and can do something about it.
And is that a big deal? If someone calls up and says, hey, you know what, I'm done for whatever.
No. If somebody says, no, I've got to cancel stuff, you know, my house burned down or my car blew up or what, you know, obviously I'm using excessive
those are extreme examples, but yeah.
But you get, car troubles are a big one. I get that all the time. And honestly, most of the time I just tell them, don't worry about it, deal with your car stuff and your books will be here when you're ready. But if you do feel the need to cancel, then no, just give us a heads up. That way we're not sitting there 3 months later going,
yeah, more and more books pile up.
Yeah, and the stack is this high, so.
And again, to comment on Geoff's, in my opinion, quite amazing service.
I try.
Very much so. 2 or 3 years, 3 years ago now, wow. I moved to Hong Kong, and at the time I'd been here for, I think, 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say a few years already.
I had quite a pull list. I think I had...
You were already gone.
Yes, our camera, Vanessa, was already gone, yeah. I had, I think, probably 10 or 15 books at the time. I had a lot of Batman stuff.
Yes, in that ballpark, because you had Batman and Detective, and I think Nightwing at the time.
Yep.
And probably Justice League.
Oh yeah, I don't think I've ever stopped reading that.
And there were a number, I think, of just random Bat books.
Yeah.
That were coming out at different times that you were reading.
Yeah,
so, yeah, there was
somewhere between 10 and 15 books a month guaranteed. And I moved to Hong Kong for 2 years, and you had no problem just being, yeah, just let me know when you're gonna come back, and that way it's all ready. And sure enough, I'd come back a year later and I'd be down for the summer. And I think at one point I actually had a short box. You just put it all in one box.
Yeah, I had it in a separate box because it took up too much space in the files.
Yeah, and I ended up actually just buying the whole thing, and I was like, there, done. So if you come to Sketchbook, 1, get a pull list. 2, he's extremely flexible and he's happy to help. Just give him notice when you can.
Yeah.
And any.
But that goes for any shop.
Yeah.
Absolutely any shop. Doesn't matter. I don't care if it's my competitors.
Just be nice and let them know.
Pick your stuff up. Give them a heads up when you can.
Yeah. Now, beyond just the comics, obviously, we have a ton of trades over there as well. Is it sort of the same idea for trades? Can you order, you know, if I say, hey, I want, I don't know, Klaus, the second volume of Klaus or whatever.
You know, it's Claus, right?
Is it?
It's Santa Claus.
Oh, I always thought it was Klaus. Whatever. Would someone be able to come in and say, hey, I want to order this book, and roughly speaking, if it's already in print, if it's not like a fresh, brand new trade, how long roughly would it take to get it?
It depends on the time of the week, but usually about 2 weeks. If you come in on a Monday and ask for it, probably the following week. But yeah.
So if
I tell people about 2 weeks just to be safe.
So if it's Monday of week 1, you might be able to get it Wednesday on week 2.
Yeah.
Okay. And if it's like Wednesday, obviously
because when we get our shipments on Tuesdays, and not all shops do, you have to opt into it because it costs us to do it. But if you get your books on Tuesday, no matter when you get it, Tuesday or Wednesday, your shipment for the following week is prepared already on the next day.
Oh,
so when I get my shipment on Tuesday, my shipment for the following Tuesday is done on Wednesday, and we get the invoice and everything sent to us already.
The next day?
Yeah.
And that way you know what's coming.
Yeah, so we know what's coming. But, so in order to get something into that shipment, it's pretty much got to be before, it definitely has to be before that. Occasionally we used to be able to slip something in, but not too much anymore. So yeah, if you're here like the Monday, there's a good chance it'll show up the following week. There's still no guarantee. It's like any distributor though. If they just don't get around to putting that in, I've had books that showed up like 6 weeks later and I'm going, what happened here? And it could be anything from they just misplaced the order to maybe they were out of print and they were just waiting for shipment to come in.
They had to actually have it printed and done. Okay, so on average, if you want a comic book, let you know about the week or two in advance. For graphic novel, same kind of idea.
Yeah.
And when it comes to, because you've done this for me, for figures, is it the same idea for a figure, or is it a longer period?
If they have it, it's the same, because it's the same distributor.
Oh, okay.
If they have it, it's the same. There are some exceptions to that. Some of our other distributors carry some of the figures. So if it's something we can get from them, then we can usually have it within a couple of days.
Oh.
And if it's an assortment, there's a good chance it's just gone. Like, one of the things about horror figures that's a giant pain is that when we order them, and what used to happen, and we've got super frustrated with it, was, a new Jason figure would be coming out or a new Freddy figure would be coming out. We get 3 or 4 of them, and they'd sell out within a day or two. And we'd be like, we need more, and they're like, oh, they're gone. And
great.
So basically, they were ordering to their orders. So if they had like 5,000 of them ordered across the country, they ordered 5,000 of them.
That's what got me.
And when I say across the country, Diamond is the world. So, that's what they would order. And so once it was gone, it was gone. So it got to the point with horror figures in particular, we're like, all right, send me 24, because then they'll last for a while.
Yeah, and that way, it's not like the initial shock.
And obviously, bigger shops are probably ordering hundreds of them, Midtown and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, figures are a frustrating one, because a lot of times, once they're gone, they're gone. DC Collectibles is different that way, in that we can usually still get them at least for a while afterwards. But stuff like the Hasbro stuff for Mattel, or for not Mattel, for Marvel, frequently it'll be gone, and then a lot of times they get it back in later. I think it's mostly Diamond just kind of covering their ass, making sure that they don't have a huge, like, they don't order 10,000 of something and sell 4,000 of them.
Yeah, and then they're stuck with 6,000 worth of product, and
then they end up having to sell it off super cheap, and they lose money on it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, that's just safe business.
It's business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyone who walks off the street, whether they want comics, they want graphic novels, figures, magic cards,
board games,
yeah, you have a ton.
We order all that stuff for people. The only thing we can't order, and it blows my mind that people think we can, but again, it's because I'm on the inside, so I know the reality of it is we can't order singles for Magic.
So if I wanted a very specific Magic card, you couldn't get it?
No.
Oh, okay.
The only way we can get it, and the way stores get singles, is we open packs.
Oh, so you'll buy yourself
we
a set
buy
of
or
packs.
Trade them from players. It's the only way to get them. You can't just order singles.
I'm learning a lot of new stuff today. Holy cow. Now, actually, like you've just said, so I've seen you, like, while we were filming, I think about 4 people came in and specifically looked at Magic. Do you, obviously you sell singles, you open your own packs, you sell them out, the specific cards. Do you trade them, or do you buy Magic cards?
Yeah, we do both.
Okay.
Yep.
So if someone had like a valuable set of cards that they were wanting to get rid of, they
can bring them in. I don't do it as much. Joel and Sam tend to be I haven't played the game in a while, so I don't have my thumb on it like I do with comics.
You're just sort of out of it for now.
The two of them have a better... Magic has its own economy. Like, it's very much its own bartering and trading and buying system. The cards are going up and down at all times, as things get reprinted and not reprinted, and there's a whole thing to it. It takes a while.
So when a Magic card actually is like super valuable, the reason for that is there's only so many of them in existence. It's not like...
Sometimes.
Okay. Wow.
Sometimes it's the number of them in existence. Sometimes it's the amount of time that it gets played. Like, if it's getting played in decks that are winning at like the pro level. Oh, okay. Then people want them, and so the demand is there for them.
So it's almost in that way, Magic is almost like a pro sport where, if the top hockey player is using a certain kind of stick, that's the card that is now in demand in Magic.
Yeah. I don't know how much that happens in sports, but the cards are almost the players in a way.
Wow.
Like if this player really performs, everybody wants him on their team. Differences with Magic, they print a whole bunch of these players.
Yeah, exactly. There's
so everybody has a better chance of having him on the team, but the price to have him on your team goes up.
So it really is a supply and demand thing.
Yeah, oh, very much so.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then, if all of a sudden that deck isn't working anymore, something's come out that counters that and shuts it down, and the interest drops, then the pricing drops on them. Or, as more and more product gets opened, there's a greater supply to meet that demand, so the price comes down, or if it gets reprinted, same deal.
Okay.
Yeah, it's its own economy.
If there's one book you'd recommend right now that everyone should run to your store to buy, what would it be?
The one that I would recommend right now that I would say run and buy doesn't make any sense because it's sold out, and that's the X-Men stuff.
The House of
X,
X.
Powers of 10. Aside from that, I would say probably Event Leviathan if you're into mystery stuff, because that was fantastic. And I mean, King's Batman is incredible.
Yeah.
Sadly, my favorite character, Nightwing, is in the middle of his not a good story. It was fine. It's gone on too long. It's one of those. It's been stretched out way too much.
And that's him getting shot in the head.
and honestly, I think that has more to do with the fact that the writer that came on for issue 50 and started telling the story, Scott Lobdell, wasn't supposed to stay.
Oh.
And the guy that was supposed to take over before he came on ended up basically getting fired because of accusations of like sexual harassment and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
So completely valid. I'm like, I don't want him on the book. And then they've since brought Dan Jurgens on, and when he took over, he was like, well, this is kind of a neat story. And I'm like, I get what you're saying, Dan. It's been going too long. So I think it's that it's been stretched out because of the whole writer scenario. You know, they went for as long as Lobdell could do it, and then when Jurgens took over, it was like, oh, fresh eyes on this. This is neat. I want to try this for a bit now, which stretched it out longer.
And it's been going on now.
It's over a year.
Yeah, it started on issue...
issue 50
something like that,
was the last issue, I think, of Nightwing.
Yeah, because that's the cover where he's got the scar on the side of his head, I think, right?
50 or 51 is.
Yeah.
But right around issue 50 of Nightwing, and they're into the 60s at this point, so it's been going too long. It can be wrapped up now.
Okay. And what about graphic novels? If someone didn't want to get a comic, because I know a lot of people who don't, and they wanted a graphic novel, what would you say, pick this up? Just as like a brand new, never touched a comic person.
Nailbiter's a big one. If you don't want superheroes, Nailbiter's a great one if you're into horror. Superhero-wise, there's a few. Batman White Knight is really good.
Yeah, that was cool.
Very different, kind of alternate universe type stuff. Another just fantastic one for me, it's been around since, I want to say the late 80s, but it might have been the early 90s, and that's Cosmic Odyssey from DC. It's written by Jim Starlin and drawn by Mike Mignola, and it's the Justice League and the New Gods trying to stop a dark side plot, and it's phenomenal. And it's, strangely enough, it's one of those key books that's kind of flown under the radar. Everybody knows about Watchmen and everybody knows about The Dark Knight Returns, but Cosmic Odyssey is set up so much character-wise for John Stewart of Green Lanterns.
Oh.
And that it still gets referenced today in his stories because a whole bunch of people die because of a decision he makes. And that decision has haunted him over the years through all of his other books. And so it's this kind of key book that just never really, that people don't realize is kind of that starting point.
So for specifically, if there's any fan of John Stewart out there, or in general,
if you want to read Cosmic Odyssey if you're a John Stewart fan. But it's just a fantastic story overall.
So you could just pick it up, read it, you're happy.
Yeah, it's just one shot. Like it was a 4-issue limited series, like prestige format, I think. And yeah, it's fantastic. It's still one of my favorites.
Awesome.
In fact, when we were at Niagara Falls Comic Con, we had the dinner with Perez. That then became Dinner with Perez and Starlin, which then kind of unofficially became Dinner with Perez and Starlin and Joe Rubinstein, all the guys who worked on Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah.
And I had Starlin sign my Cosmic Odyssey.
You just have some of the craziest stories.
Yeah, he signed my Cosmic Odyssey, and then I had Perez sign some other stuff. We did not Starlin, Steranko last year. Jim Steranko, who was like a big artist in the 60s on S.H.I.E.L.D. and Nick Fury's stuff. He's done a little bit of Batman stuff as well. He had covers on Action 1000 and Detective 1000.
Okay.
And for me, probably even more impressive is he's the guy who designed Indiana Jones.
That is, wow.
Yeah, he designed Indiana
There
Jones.
you go.
Yeah, he's super interesting to listen to and talk to, and he's on Twitter. He's just an interesting guy he's so entertaining.
And again, the full name?
Such a storyteller. Jim Steranko.
Jim Steranko.
Yeah, he's a legend.
Find him on Twitter, find his books.
I would tell you what his Twitter handle is, but I don't remember. It might be I am Steranko.
We'll bring
But
it
I'm
up in
not
the video.
100%.
We'll have it like here,
He's going to put it here.
magically with editing. So
Not
actually,
me, him.
I'll do it.
Here.
Actually, I wanted to talk to you
Click the
about.
subscribe button that's somewhere below me.
I think it would be actually, yeah, it'll be below you. I
Yeah,
think.
it's right under here.
And then there'll be a bell. Should be a bell here.
Here's the subscribe button.
So actually, another thing I did want to touch on, because I'm not too big into back issues. I haven't gone back issue hunting because I started reading in New 52. You do have a bin over there, and again, we'll have a shot of this. I've seen that you've had back issues. The bulk of them that I have seen, and this has been a while, I haven't cruised through there, has been like New 52 #1 of this or number 14 of that.
It tends to be newer stuff that's in there, yeah. Honestly, our market, for the first few years we were open, that's what people were looking for, was new stuff. It's shifting a bit in this area, which is good. I'm glad to see it. And because of that, we're slowly expanding it into the boxes on the shelves below.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah, you can see I've got the Batman and Detective ones. There's a Spider-Man one. I think we're going to move the Superman in Action into boxes below. But just, limited space because of what we do with the Magic players and the D&D players. So our back issue space gets limited, so I'm trying to maximize it now. So 7 years in, we're still kind of trying to figure things out.
Oh, I assume you.
I don't think you ever
doing
stop
that.
trying
No.
to figure things out.
And are you going to be getting more back issues, or is it just from where you have going forward? You'll have those back issues.
It's basically the same kind of idea as Magic cards. Back issues, you get them from collections.
So someone might come in and sell it to you.
It's somebody coming in, and if it's a collection that I like and I think will sell, then we pick it up.
And of course you got.
And quite honestly, I've bought stuff off people specifically to put it into our dollar bins.
Oh.
Just because I'm like, I don't think this book is going to sell at whatever the guide price is of $4, $5, $6, and so it's like, okay, I'll put it in the dollar bin, and it will sell there.
All right. And for those of you who might not know, there is a book. I think it's published yearly, right? The comic book guide.
Overstreet is published yearly, but the reality is, I find Overstreet's kind of behind the times now because it comes out once a year, and so with eBay and stuff like that, it's completely changed how speculation works and how the pricing of books works. So there's websites that are good. I use one called comicbookrealm.com. So comicbookrealm.com. It's a great price guide. It's free, and even that one is still behind the times on something that blows up today.
Yeah, because on eBay it's instantaneous.
Yeah.
There's a demand.
Yeah, you see that demand shoot through the roof on eBay immediately. The only thing I will say is if you're checking eBay for pricing, don't check what somebody's listing it at. Go into the advanced settings, search for the book that you're looking for, but check off the sold listings.
So you can see what it's actually selling
so that you can
at.
see what it's actually selling for. I get people all the time, like it's shocking how often, that they'll come in, they'll be like, this is like a $4,000 book. And I'm like, no, it's about 300. Well, I saw it on eBay for 4,000. Right, but I can put it on there right now for 10,000. It doesn't make it a $10,000 book. I'm like, check the listings of things that have already sold, because what somebody puts it on there for doesn't mean anything.
Exactly.
And then they always, either they come back and say, you were right, or I just don't hear from them again because they're going, damn it, it's not worth $4,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think we're going to have that many books that are worth $4,000 anymore.
Oh, there's lots that are, but again, I'm just throwing numbers out. But I get it all the time where somebody will be like, this book is like a $300 book, and it's like, no, it's not.
It's not what it's
like a $25
that.
book, but somebody put it up hoping that would sell. And eBay's a tricky one. You have to be careful with eBay. I saw a listing for the last issue of The Walking Dead, and they were selling it for $15 or $20, the last issue, because the demand was there.
Oh, okay.
And
they could
it
get away
absolutely
with
did. The demand was there. But as I'm looking at this listing, I clicked on the picture and I'm looking at the picture, and it was a second printing.
Oh.
I'm like, yeah, that's a $5 book at best. Whatever the cover price was, $3.99 US.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've got second printing sitting on my shelf right now. But you have to be careful with eBay, because for every scrupulous guy who's on there selling honorably, there's plenty who aren't. So you have to be cautious.
So for collectors out there, one, if you're new to comics, this sort of started with the book, the Overstreet Comics. It's a yearly
Yes.
book that's published. If you read through it, it'll tell you what every comic ever is worth. Well, not every comic.
Ballpark,
a
at
lot.
least.
It's a
Yeah.
big book. It's tiny print. They'll let you know a lot.
Yeah, it's like a dictionary.
Yeah,
it's like reading a dictionary.
It's crazy. And then, yeah, if you're out there trying to collect, one, that's a good reference. But again, like you said, it's printed a year ago. So eBay, and I've actually bought books off eBay, it'll change within a day. I've seen like Batman #1 signed by Snyder and Capullo go from like $100 book to someone was selling it for like $400 and it had gone, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then the next day it's like, oh, it's all priced at $25.
And even to kind of take that further, even when you're looking at the sold listings, if you're seeing, yeah, this book sold for $10 and here it sold for $12 and here it sold for $8 and here it sold for $60, it's probably still about a $10 book. That guy put it up at an elevated price and somebody who didn't know better jumped on it.
Yeah, because they wanted it that bad, they didn't research it.
Yeah.
Like you said, advanced options, click sold, and that way you can see and protect yourself.
Yeah.
Perfect. Then I think we've covered everything I could ever ask you about your store. Is there anything in particular before we do our little tour that you would want someone to know, whether it's a longtime customer or something new? What's going on with the store in the next couple months that's maybe interesting?
No, nothing that comes to mind. I mean, we're at Frightmare by the Falls, which is the horror convention in October, and Halloween Comic Fest is coming up that same weekend. I think it's the last weekend before Halloween, and I couldn't tell you what the dates are right now because I suck at remembering dates.
Editing, it'll be here.
He's going to put it here.
Magic.
Beside the subscribe button. But yeah, that's the big stuff that's coming up. Yeah, not a whole lot's changing within the store. I'm always changing things around and moving things, but aside from that,
yes,
nothing big.
I mean, I remember walking in the one time and the walls were all of a sudden green, and I was just like,
yeah, they were green from the day we opened. You just
No.
didn't notice. Yeah.
Oh, I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, it's the green and the purple day one.
Purple?
Even I remember.
The floor was purple.
Okay. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I'm Konrad from Wednesday Night Reviews again. I'm with Geoff here, owner and or co-owner and operator of Sketchbook Comics in St. Catharines. What's the specific address?
224 Glenridge Avenue.
There you go. It's if you take the transit system here, it's bus 16. So thank you guys.
I didn't know that.
I did.
I just know that when Brock is in, the bus passes every 15 minutes, so it doesn't take long to get here at all.
That's the 16. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. As I always like to say at the end of my videos, when you're trying to look for a book, first come to a local comic book store. If they don't have it, they can order it. It'll take 1 to 2 weeks to get it to you. Beyond that, you can go to Chapters or something like that, or find other ways, especially if it's like a rare book.
If you're looking for trades and stuff, Chapters is a good choice, kind of after the fact. If you're looking for the floppies, once you hit the shops and they don't have it, you're moving to eBay.
And by floppy,
or an online seller.
Yeah, and by floppy, you would mean like a bag and
standard comic,
comic book. Perfect. All right, well, thank you for tuning in, everyone, and have yourselves an awesome rest of your day. And thank you.
No problem.